In New York City, they're reporting on what we're seeing here also, essentially trying to tell everybody that heightened security is important now.
John, I apologize. There's a lot of us here. What are we listening to there? Say again. Say again, please. Come here, John.
Reporting that bomb squads, they're checking out Air Force One.
Good. Great. So we have bomb squads.
I think you're going to see a lot of this, and I think we were talking about this a few minutes ago. In fact, when I was telling you that in New York they were evacuating the municipal building, the United Nations, Gracie Mansion, which is the mayor's residence, all potential targets, I suggested to you that shortly in Washington you'll probably be seeing the same kind of reaction at sensitive symbolic locations.
With an update on the air crash at the Pentagon. Sam Ford, tell us what you can.
Well, Carol, as you can see, there's this huge cloud of smoke behind me, and that is the location of the Pentagon. We had come here to National Airport to, continue our coverage of the situation in New York because the airports have been shut down. No sooner had we gotten here and stopped the car than we looked up, and there was this cloud of smoke billowing from the Pentagon. There had been a traffic accident here at National, and a number of emergency vehicles were dealing with that. Then suddenly we saw this, and I would say within a couple of minutes they were all tearing out of here, heading toward the Pentagon.
Our national anthem.
So quickly you can barely see it, but you aren't meant to physically, literally see it. You are meant to subconsciously see it. It is meant to go into the subconscious and implant itself into your brain on a subconscious level, and this continues throughout this entire national anthem.
Full of bitterness and curses, and in their paths, nothing but ruin and misery, and the fear of God.
5 teenagers have been in custody all weekend since being arrested in Baton Rouge Friday night. Friends described them as members of a vampire cult performing rituals of blood-sucking and sexual torture. Investigators found 3 razor blades, knives, a 2-foot wooden dowel covered with black tape, a bloody sheet, and a bloody paper towel. Court records show there was blood all over the inside of the teenagers' getaway car.
I didn't see any remorse.
First question. Well, I want you to ask them to call up, because they do hear them through the ear. They listen to the spirits like this. I'm going to ask you to call up the ghost of my grandmother, because when she died, she had the family will, and she secreted it someplace. We don't know where it is. So we asked Granny, where is the will, Granny? What does Granny say? She says, I'm in heaven, and it's wonderful. I'm here with all my old friends, my deceased friends and my family, and all the puppy dogs and the kittens that I used to have when I was a little girl. And I love you, and I'll always be with you. Goodbye. And she didn't answer the damn question. Where is the will? Now, she could easily have said, oh, it's in the library on the second shelf behind the encyclopedia, but she doesn't say that. No, she doesn't. She doesn't bring any useful information to us. We paid a lot of money for that information, but we didn't get it. The second question that I'd like to ask, rather simple. Suppose I ask them to contact the spirit of my deceased father-in-law, as an example. Why do they insist on saying, remember they speak into his ear, why do they say, my name starts with J or M? Is this a hunting game, a hunting and fishing? What is it? Is it 20 questions? No, it's more like 120 questions, but it is.
Minds. And I can tell you that even on the ground now, already, the parts that are already being played out are raising alarm bells. For instance, the related science of genetically modified foods. We are already finding out that by unnaturally crossing over species barriers and creating potatoes that have moth genes in them and other variations of foods, that these foods do things. They have unintended consequences. Tests that are being done now in Britain, where they're raising fields of genetically modified crops, and downwind the populations are developing respiratory diseases that are unusual, that are starting to skyrocket. There have been suppressed scientific studies. Arpad Pusztai is one famous case. His studies were supported by another independent scientist by the name of Irina Ermakova, who was able to repeat what he did. What did he find? He took rats and he forced these rats to eat genetically modified foods. They began developing tumorous cancers. Their offspring came in at half weight and died at half life. This was all done in a laboratory setting, which was immediately being suppressed by a giant corporation whose name I won't mention, but who literally stands to lose trillions of dollars in the future, and therefore they are highly motivated to suppress these findings. And only because of Greenpeace and some others who have been involved in lawsuits for over a decade to force these documents to be made available to the public are we just now being made aware of some of the things that are happening in the real world. One of the test studies showed that they would put rats in a cage and starve them. And then they would place genetically modified potatoes here and natural organic potatoes here. And when they open the cage doors, the rats will run to the organic product and they won't even eat the genetically modified crop unless they're starving and have no other options, and then they'll eat it. And you gotta wonder what God's little creatures know about these products that we don't know. But we very well could be opening a door to a molecular biological nightmare, to a crossover between humans and animals, or genetic foods that probably not for a decade will we really understand.